Ghosts, the mystic manifestations of unmet desire, haunting emotional reminders, conduits for the unexplained, expansive theological discussions of the afterlife. These entrancing creatures, well, just kind of being rad thematic tools, are a long-standing staple of classic literature. From Sir Hamlet to Sir Slimer, we are inundated with ghost icons all around us. But these ghosts are old news. We need some fresh ghosts for the hip new generation. Nostalgia may have been the way of the millennials, but we, the Gen Z, value progress. Ghost progress. If you too had the joy of reading through these 5 novels this year, I'm sure you'll notice there's so many fucking dead people. Oh my god. And I'm sure, out of those myriad of options, some of them are going to be perfect candidates to reincarnate as a satisfying apparition. Ghosts are tortured beings who simply cannot move upon past the transitionary stages of death. And when you look at the fate of most of the people, they're not getting into heaven. Let's just put it that way. Which is why I have filtered back through the AP English curriculum in order to take you through a mini investigation of what cultures define as a ghost, how it's made, and who is our perfect postmodern candidate for the world's next top ghost. To begin, we need to set some criteria. What makes a ghost? Like, why stick around? Obviously, you'll need to be dead, but we can't stop there. There's a couple theories on the whole afterlife thing, so we're gonna have to get a little bit more specific. I've separated our board into 3 categories for the 3 general theological beliefs that match the cultural setting of our books to the best degree. Each graph is then going to be split down the middle in the center by a ghost perimeter. Everyone to the left of the respective ghost perimeter would be unlikely and kind of pointless candidates for ghosts, while every figure to the right of the ghost perimeter is ripe for the thematically driven picking. Below all of this is our ghostome, the boxing ring of the undeniable ghostiness of all deceased AP English characters. Whoever wins out in their own respective categories will then be moved down to the official meter for an overall comparison. We're going to work our way backwards in time, so that means we're beginning with Arundhati Roy's The God of Small Things. The thing is, we immediately approach a problem. While there are many characters in The God of Small Things who have links to or actively practice Catholic dogma, the cultural setting of India is much more rooted in Hinduism. And at one point in the book, the Ike children were described by Bibhi Pachama as half-Hindu hybrids. So, for the sake of honesty, let's delve into every single religious nuance associated within Hindu culture and the ways it conflicts with or interacts with the British occupation and the introductions of Christian systems. New plan. Instead, this means we're going to be trying our best to apply Hindu beliefs to the ghost adjacent in a comprehensible manner the character does in the book, in order to keep it culturally varied from the rest of the areas we're covering. Wait, you may be asking. Doesn't Hinduism include a process of rebirth and therefore no ghost to stick around? And isn't you a white kid who was raised Catholic and has no deeper understanding of the other culture's faith beyond a few dissertations you read online describing an Eastern faith to me a little bit generalized and quite offensive? Yes, and yes, incredibly yes. But even within the cycle of rebirth, there is a third transitionary stage between life and death, and from this we can get a classic ghost and ghoul. Specifically, the bhoot, or the Hindi word that most directly translates to ghost, describes a spirit which has died and was not prepared properly for rebirth, or experiences such a gruesome end that they simply weren't able to restart. That means that if we're trying to generate a ghost out of our characters, they've got to fall under these parameters. 1. Little to no burial or funeral service, and 2, a gross or unpleasant way to die. With that on the board, let's jump into the candidates. Sophie Mall.
She's that one girl who had all the silly bands but wouldn't share when you had ones you wanted to trade.
Amu. Destroyed by horny hubris and societal oppression, Valuth, the god of small things, and the large things. And of course, killed in Chapter 8, but forever in our hearts, those ants. So on that cheery note, let's continue to the next contenders. The next batch of books all conveniently will be clumped together in one larger category. From The Great Gatsby to The Things They Carried, a lot of these novels take place in 20th century America. And while The Things They Carried has stronger ties to baptism and arguably Vietnam traditions, I just can't make this any more complicated. So, what do you mean when we say ghosts in modern America? Ghosts have evolved quite a bit from their Latin roots in our country, and while in the olden days it would fall more squarely on one's relationship with sinful behavior and the afterlife, nowadays we attribute the in-between afterlife more to a case of bad behavior and bad circumstances. That means we'll be ranking these ghosts on to what extent their life was fulfilled upon death, and how petty of a personality they have. With the second guideline set up, let's continue on this category of specter successors. Kiowa. It says he died in the shithole, but he'd already left America, so that doesn't quite track. Perfect. Boker. Pretty bad.
Pretty bad. He killed himself.
But he's not. I don't know, we're gonna put him on the line, so I don't want to make a judgment there.
Ted Lavender.
Where the heck is Ted Lavender, though?
We don't know much about him, do we?
No, the name Lavender screams petty.
Okay, out of pure bias, we'll put him there.
Yep.
Lee Strunk. What? Should we just clump all the things that hear people hear?
Yeah.
The lines left ahead of them, all of them kind of neutral?
Kurt Lemon.
Here.
And Linda.
I do, but not as harsh.
Okay.
Next, all the King's Men. Willie Stark.
He's real petty, but kind of finished.
Yeah, we'll go over there.
Well, no, the hospital's big.
Yeah.
That was not
But,
finished. The gap between those all finished is the hospital. Tom Stark.
Fuck that guy.
Adam Stanton.
Love that guy.
Judge Irwin. Some people pay their child support. This guy just shoots himself.
You know that right on.
Orville Littleton. Couldn't find a picture, so we just put his cause of death.
Right there,
Cass Master.
He's still kind of torn up about the thing.
That school of children that got destroyed at the beginning of All the King's Men. You know, children.
The enemy of the people.
Jay Gatsby. Now, finished and unfinished depends on how you read the book. That's a big one.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
I think he's gotta finish. I think you gotta recognize. That's why he was being depressed in his school. Because he realized Daisy wasn't gonna love him. He's gotta finish. He finished his business.
Well, but does he realize he'll never reach his goals and never be finished, or is he content to not reach them?
Either way, go finish.
Well, no, I feel goals. If you think you're never gonna, yeah, it's true, you wouldn't come back as a ghost.
Yeah,
If
you
you
think
didn't
you're never
think
gonna
you'd
reach your
get
goals.
Yeah, okay.
He's unfinished, baby, but he's a little petty.
Myrtle Wilson. Someone who never learned to look both ways before crossing the road.
She's right next to school children.
And of course, the American Dream. Which can be argued never existed or lived, but it was definitely killed after the 80s. Anyway, wait, no.
Thank you.
Perfect. Yep, I mean, that was most of them, but there's still one very important property. Lastly, let's tackle. I mean, my God, shit, this is a disaster, and I'm blaming you.
Me specifically.
Lastly, let's tackle some of the olden ghosts. For our final pool of phantom possibilities, we're covering Hamlet. Oh, shit. Oh, we forgot Heart of Darkness. Oh, no. And with that out of the way, we're moving on to Hamlet, the diva of Denmark. Seeing as Hamlet takes place generally around the turn of the 17th century, we're going to be basing our ghost chart off conventions of the time. Conveniently, the book also provides a lot of guidelines on its own. The main factor we need to account for is how much sin did the ghost have left unaccounted for. In 1600, it was generally accepted that you would either end up in heaven or hell after death. This is in the West, obviously. And when you're being transported between heaven and hell, there's little to no time of transportation or for a bathroom break. So the only way you would be kept behind somewhere in between is if you were too bad for heaven or too good for hell. The Goldilocks of eternal suffering. This means we're actually looking for the middle slider in this scenario. Additionally, unfinished business still plays a role. You need to be first trapped in the in-between, but that should be caused by something, last deed left undone, last word unuttered. You know, your classic dramas. And, I hear you say, but there already exists a ghost in Hamlet, so he should just win by default. No. No. You were fooled by the bewitching tricks of demons. Sir Hamlet Sr. is but the devil Did you not listen to Horatio? This is a demon. So he's going back where Kurtz was. Doesn't count. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's move over to our final contestants. We're also going to be doing the Hamlet deaths in chronological order, because it just makes more sense. So that means the first to die was Fortinbras Sr., or as I like to call him, Daddy. Then the next actual in-play death, Polonius, because as snitches get stitches, he got stabbed.
He was sexist to his daughter, it's fine.
Yeah, he got that out of the way. Ophelia, H2O, that was fun.
Ooh.
Gertrude, he thinks the lady doesn't talk enough in the play to give any actual critique of her. Claudius, the horrible murderer on the streets and incestuous beast in the sheets.
He just had a lot of baggage.
Yep. Laertes,
Remember France?
Yorick, bore Hamlet on his back 1,000 times and only got a paragraph in return. Finally, remember MySpace? Hamlet. So, with all the final rankings tallied behind me and the last bell tolled, it's the moment we've all been waiting for. I am going to count down from 6 the most likely dead English characters to have been ghosted. We'll begin with number 6, and based on these 3 graphs right here, we can see that'll probably be Laertes. He's got a quite fair bit of unfinished business, and due to his time in France, quite a bit of sin. So that's bringing him onto the number 6 spot. And Hamlet, you might think, would actually be lower, but his unfinished business is a little more gravitas than Laertes was, so he's going just before him. Now, 4th place, we're pulling from this graph in the middle, and down on the far right here we see Myrtle Wilson. That needs no explanation. 3rd place, however, goes to the American Dream. It's dead. Maybe it's coming back, but probably not. 2nd place goes strongly to the school children and all the King's Men. I don't think it needs any further explanation that children are already demons in their own right. But above everything else we see here laid out before us, I think there's a clear number 1 winner. The character in the novel who was mistreated the most, who had the darkest past, and the most vengeful reason they would want to stick around as a ghost. That, of course, goes to the ants in God of Small Things. So, here we have our final Ghost-O-meter, ranked from 6th place to 1st place from every dead character in the APEnglish curriculum, who would truly not be able to move on to heaven or hell or some other great spiritual afterlife, but in fact come back and haunt the people around them for the rest of their days. You may also now be asking, I just sat through a really long video and it seems like it thematically went anywhere. Are you going to finally have a big finish where you make some grand point? No, bye.